it's very important to ask people, to say something like, usually people have ways of coping when they're experiencing a lot of intense emotion and trauma. And those ways become addictive, like drinking and lots of food addiction. Masturbation is a common one that starts early on in life, especially with sexual abuse. Lots of different ways people have. Cutting the body, you normalize it because in a trauma world, these are normal ways of coping with horrible experiences because they numb the body. Or sometimes they work the other way. They wake the body up from a dorsal state. So when you suggest it like this, people often tell you because you've made it okay to disclose. And so they'll say, yeah, I do that. And then you've got a way into their world, their reality, and how their body is functioning to help them to survive, which is very important because in that state of addiction, the body is stuck. It's not going anywhere. It's not able to come into grounding because it's designed not to in order to keep our clients safe. And this is crucial to understand because if you don't work with the body, you're not addressing the very place where the person is stuck. So let's just take a moment and slow things down a little bit. Then take a breath. In this way of working, and thank goodness it's becoming more and more and more available to therapists, particularly young therapists, we work with the soma. We work with what's happening neurophysiologically in the body and also psychologically. Bodies tell us a lot of information. So in this model, we slow things down. We pause and we listen to what's happening inside. Just becoming aware of what you feel in your body now as you let yourself pause. And I'm aware of feeling more energized, which is always what happens when I present. There's a kind of excitement that comes, which is really a fun part of this work. So I found Gene Gendlin, and Gene Gendlin is the father of the term felt sense, which is being used a lot these days, but not always in the most accurate way. So I want to really give to you today Gendlin's teachings around felt sense. I trained actually with Gene Gendlin for over 30 years. I found him when I was trying to help the women in my group to try to understand how I could become more skilled at helping them become more connected to their own bodies. And in order to do that, I had to connect more with my own. So Gendlin was also a philosopher, as well as a psychologist, brilliant man, a real character. And he wrote this paper called Thinking Beyond Patterns. And this is really what we do when we shift paradigms, right? A paradigm is a pattern. And what we're doing in the Polyvagal Institute with Steve Porges is to encourage people to shift those patterns of a more cognitive top-down way of understanding our clients to a more embodied cognitive way of understanding our clients. So thinking beyond what we already know. And Gendlin did some research way back in the 1950s and 60s with Carl Rogers, who was a very famous American psychologist. If you don't know of him, please do check out his work. Beautiful man, warm, beautiful man, who really understood the power of presence, which was very much Gene Gendlin's message. And what is presence? Presence is showing up in a way that is fully integrated. And not perfect, doesn't have to be perfect, but it means that you are connected to your own felt sense of the world, that you can feel into your body, into your physical sensations in your body. You can hear your thoughts. You have a sense of what you're thinking. You know what you're feeling inside. And any memories that your body's carrying about this experience in this moment are available to you. So I know, I have lots of memories of teaching. I've been doing it a lot, especially more recently, but for a long time. That's a full felt sense. I'm really here in myself. Of course, trauma splits that, because to bring it all together, we would feel too much pain. So we split it off and dissociate it. And addictions help us to do that, to stay in these dissociated states in order to survive horror. How amazing is that our bodies know how to do that? This is not a disorder. This is actually a very ordered way of designing a body to cope with the unspeakable. And that's what our bodies do for us. And that's the paradigm shift that I really want to bring to you today, and hope that you will bring this to your clients, to celebrate the body. And yes, of course, bodies get stuck, and we'll go there to that problem. But first and foremost, to understand the intention of the body is to protect us at all costs. So Janlin discovered this felt sense and this focusing practice, as he called it, through doing research with Carl Rogers. And what he found when he interviewed people, therapists and clients who said that they had positive outcomes in their experiences in therapy. And what he found was that they were basically, surprisingly, people that were connected to their experience. They were present. They were able to feel what he called a full felt sense of integration. So he created 6 steps as a way of helping people to come into the body and find, through listening, this way that our body helps us. So he started with the step 1 that he called clearing a space, which is a way, it's like a meditation technique, a mindfulness technique of being able to put to the side things that get between you and feeling really clear and present. So it's a beautiful practice. Then we move into finding a felt sense. So this is not meditation. This is different. This is working with a problem, but paying attention to how that problem feels in your body. So for example, if you just pause for a moment and feel into your body, if it feels okay. It might not feel okay to go in there into your body, so you could just look at something on the wall. But notice if there's anything you're aware of that might be something you'd be curious about, that's kind of there, bugging you, the back of your mind, we might say, or it might be a little tightness in your throat. And we would get really curious about that in focusing. Making sure that you're not sick or you're not too tired or hungry, but there's something else in there that your body is telling you about. Something kind of niggling away. We call this sometimes intuition, right? So in focusing, we would take one of those things and bring attention to it with a focusing partner. And that focusing partner would help you to get what we call a handle for what that is in there. So it might be something like a squiggly red ball. Bodies have funny ways of speaking, right? It's like poetry. It comes from the right hemisphere, not the left linear hemisphere. And then your partner resonates back what you're experiencing and how you might be describing it. And sometimes your partner might ask a question, or you might, if you're focusing on your own, like something like, well, what's this all about? But from down in the body. Or you might ask, what's the worst of this? Which takes you into the experience of the felt sense. If that's too much and you want to titrate, you can say, is it okay to stay here? Or maybe I want to step back. So we work a lot in focusing with titrating, like many trauma therapies do, because it's essential, right? We're working with the nervous system to help to regulate, not too much intensity, and then also connecting into experiencing and feeling. And then at the end, we always welcome whatever came. All of the uncomfortable places are very welcomed, because from the body's viewpoint, those are the places that give us a lot of information about how we're living our life. And then through that process, there's sometimes something that occurs that Jenlin called the felt shift. And this is it's like you have an issue, you know it's there, you tell your friend in a way that might not be a formal focusing session, but your friend listens. And then it starts to come, and maybe you even cry. There's a shift in the body that you feel and a physical release. And often there's a knowing that comes with that. It's like, yeah, I need to go back and talk to my boss about that issue because it's really bugging me. And then it's like nothing about the problem really changed, but how you feel about it changed a lot. And what happened for me is that when I discovered polyvagal theory, I realized that that felt shift we talk about in focusing was actually a shift in the autonomic nervous system. And that's really the core of the felt sense polyvagal model. That often we would shift from, say, a flight fight state, of anxiety or anger. We are heard, we're listened to with compassion. We pause, we honor the body, and something comes. And that something creates this shift in the nervous system, and we feel better. Often it comes with tears or laughter, or sometimes people will move and sit up more. But that's really the heart of the model, is understanding this place where interoception with felt sensing really comes together in the nervous system. And so we can teach this to clients. And this is what we do in my courses. So we're feeling into the body's knowing. So I'm sure you can find an example in your life where when you paused, something came to you that you didn't know before, and you don't know where that came. We usually call that intuition. And it changed how you carry things in your life and what you did next in the next step to be able to help yourself. So in this model, practice makes presence. The more we can clear these things, the more present we are, the more whole we are, the more connected we are to ourselves, to each other, to the natural world in a compassionate way. So focusing is a research-based somatic process of coming into connection with our innate inner wisdom through the felt sense. Focusing brings us beyond stuck places or patterns and into fresh experiences of wholeness. We experience a carrying forward into new ways of being in the world. And we focus in partnerships. Focusing is a natural process, right? We're tapping into that intuitive place in the body. So are we learning to focus, or are we remembering an innate process often with our focusing partners who really enhance this capacity to be together through co-regulation? So we have a structure in which we set up our partnerships. I won't go into it, but you can read it. It really is this amazing way of co-regulating, which is a polyvagal term, to be together in a way that brings embodiment. It's pretty unique in a focusing partnership. Important to have a format that you stick to with boundaries that helps to keep it safe.